Hey, this is Sergey with Hypergrowth Engineering, and today I want to talk with you about career progression. Understanding the career ladder will help you orient in your career, orient in the direction that you want to go, what skills you want to learn as you get comfortable with the underlying understanding of what levels mean. Let's get into it. The software engineering ladder, as ordained by big tech, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, FANG, they have agreed by cross-pollination, by engineers talking with one another, on the broad scope of engineering competencies, about the gradations of levels for engineers, and what makes them effective. They start from a software engineer 1, whose learning is an apprentice in the field, handling very small tasks, little bug fixes, tiny UI changes, and whose main role is to learn in the organization. And this scales all the way up to a principal engineer or a distinguished engineer who has ownership over a large scope of domain, who influences people across the organization and perhaps even outside the organization in the industry as a whole. You can see there's a lot of impact on one end and very little on the other. Impact is a loose term. I like to think of it as the impact on the bottom line. The bottom line is the profit minus expenses of a business. It may be hard to calculate what an individual engineer's impact on the bottom line is, but we use that as a framework. It's a broad sense of the term. Let's get into aspects of impact. The most obvious is technical expertise. If you're excellent in your craft, if you're excellent at understanding the main technical concepts within the programming language you're working in, if you understand the systems that you're working with, then it's a lot easier for you to solve problems within your domain. It's a lot easier for you to deliver on solutions quickly and with less frustration and roadblocks than it would be for someone with less technical expertise. Then there's domain knowledge. Domain knowledge is how much you understand about the domain that your company works in. If you're working at a point of sale system company, perhaps that's the financial sector, perhaps that's small businesses. If you're working at Facebook or a social media company, that may look like the attention span of your customer. It may look like their interests and what they react to, what they click on. If you're working at a restaurant, that may be the kinds of foods that your customers like and how to prepare them. Domain is distinct from technical expertise because it's different than code. Unless you're working on a purely technical product, domain expertise helps you to establish context around the work that you're doing. It helps you make sure that you're making the right changes to the code instead of just the technically efficient ones. Apart from technical expertise and domain expertise, engineers also have to know how to communicate. As you go up the levels from software engineer 1 to principal, the communication skills demanded are ever increasing. As an SE1, you're not expected to do much more than receive information well. You want to be a very enthusiastic and positive coworker, but there's not very high expectations for engineers in the social department. But as you grow, as you get to software engineer 2 and senior, then there's an increasing role for communication, for aligning the interests of the team towards working on a particular direction. So instead of only getting handed work and doing that, you end up having to align interests, to influence others, to figure out what is it that they want to do and how does this project align with the things that they're incentivized to do. And the further up you go on the ladder, the more influence becomes your main impact on the organization. Largely you end up doing work through other people. Yes, it's great to add in code every now and again, but more and more becomes coaching and influencing product direction and spreading technical standards than it is working on the day-to-day features. As the organization trusts you to solve bigger and bigger problems, you'll end up seeing that the concept of ownership also grows. As the organization trusts you to solve bigger and bigger problems, your scope of ownership of the domain of the code base is going to grow, because you'll be ever more proficient in being able to maintain, triage bugs, and continue to develop features in that domain. So the organization trusts you to have a handle on larger pieces of code. The more you are fluent in the systems that you're managing, the more that people will come to you for answers rather than asking someone else. And that's important because that gives a shorter feedback loop to other people in the organization when they're looking for answers. They know who to ask, and they know that they are going to get reliable answers from the owner of the code base. So as you grow in your career, you end up shortening the feedback loop for others by giving them quality information. Your opinion starts to carry a little bit more weight, and while it still has to stand on its own merits, other people may defer to you just a little bit more. Anyways, to summarize, as you're going up the software engineering ladder, your scope of impact grows correspondingly. The more your impact on the bottom line of the organization, the broader your ownership of the product that you're working on. The higher quality information, the higher signal to noise that you produce for the people in your organization. You produce more value, and the organization rewards that with higher total compensation. As you're growing in your career, you'll notice that your compensation does increase. And compared to some other jobs, software engineering pays fairly well. Some engineers have imposter syndrome around getting paid a certain amount, or about being in a role that they feel that they're not qualified for. What is missing in the understanding there is that we as engineers, we make high quality decisions and we automate problem solving. So we solve a problem. Usually solving a problem takes a certain amount of time for a person. If we automate that, we compress the person time that's required into machine time. It's a repeated decision made by a machine over and over and over again. That machine runs for very cheap, a lot cheaper than minimum wage. So the more high quality decisions we make and automations we put in place and problems that we solve for our customers, for the company that we're working with, the more that affects the bottom line. The more of those decisions you make in aggregate, the more they justify the salary and the total compensation that you get paid. So when you're thinking about, am I worthy of this salary? Am I worthy of this total compensation? Take a step back and look at your decisions over the past year and think, how did these affect the bottom line? And with that, thank you for listening. Wish you well. Peace.